Dust filled her mouth before she even opened her eyes. The stagecoach had stopped moving. Not slowed. Stopped. Mei Lin pressed her palm against the wooden wall beside her and felt the sharp tilt beneath her fingers. Outside, a horse screamed. Then wood cracked like a gunshot. The driver's voice cut through the wind. "Wheels gone!" The coach leaned hard to one side. Luggage slid. Someone cursed. Mei Lin's body struck the bench. Her woven Han Fu tunic caught on a nail and tore slightly at the sleeve. She did not cry out. She only tightened her grip around the small cloth bundle in her lap. Inside it was a silver ring. A ring meant for a man she would never meet. If you are still with me, keep watching. Because this is the moment everything changed. The door burst open. Wind rushed in. Montana air, dry, wide, endless, pushed against her face. It smelled like dust and wild grass and something raw. "Everyone out," the driver shouted. Mei Lin stepped down carefully. Her boots sank into pale earth. The prairie stretched without mercy in every direction. No temple bells, no harbor mist, no crowded market noise. Only wind. She wrapped her faded outer coat tighter around her shoulders. 3 weeks ago, she had left San Francisco Harbor with a paper contract folded against her chest. A rancher in Montana Territory had written for a bride. He had described cattle, open sky, honest work. He had sounded steady. His name was Samuel Walker. He was already buried in the ground. The telegram had reached them in Cheyenne. Fever. Sudden. No ceremony. Mei Lin had not wept in front of the other passengers. She had simply lowered her eyes and folded the message carefully. Now she stood beside a broken stagecoach with $17 in her pouch and no husband waiting. The driver pointed toward a thin line of cottonwood trees in the distance. "Dawson Ranch. 3 miles that way. You can wait there while I fetch help." The other passengers hurried ahead. Mei Lin did not move. The wind pressed against her sleeves. Her long black hair, braided low and neat, lifted against her back. She reached inside her coat and pulled out her small Bible. The leather was worn smooth by her fingers. Once the words had steadied her breathing. On the ship west, she had read psalm after psalm, while the ocean pitched beneath her feet. But since Cheyenne, the pages felt heavy. She opened it anyway. The paper trembled slightly in her hands. Her lips parted. No words came. A shadow crossed the ground before her. Hoofbeats. Slow. Controlled. She turned. A tall rider approached against the lowering sun. Chestnut horse, broad shoulders, hat brim low. He stopped several yards away. He did not rush her. He did not stare. "Ma'am," he said, voice even. "You hurt?" His tone carried no pity. Mei Lin straightened. "No." Her English was careful, soft, measured. He glanced at the broken coach, then at the empty horizon. "They left you?" I asked for a moment. His jaw shifted slightly. Not anger. Something protective. "I'm Caleb Dawson," he said. "Ranch down yonder." She lowered her eyes briefly in respect. "Mei Lin." The wind lifted dust between them. He noticed the Bible in her hand, but did not comment. "Sun'll drop soon," he said. "It's not safe out here after dark." She looked toward the trees again. 3 miles felt farther than an ocean. He dismounted in one smooth motion. Up close, he was younger than she expected. Late 20s perhaps. Sun-browned skin, a small scar near his temple. Blue eyes that held steady without pressing. "My mother's at the house," he added. "You can rest there till your coach is fixed." She hesitated. trust was not given lightly, but the prairie behind her offered nothing. "I will not be trouble," she said. He gave the smallest hint of a smile. "You won't." He secured her small bag to his saddle. "We'll ride double." She nodded. When he lifted her onto the horse, his hands were firm but careful. He stepped back immediately after. No lingering, no familiarity. He mounted behind her. The horse moved. The rhythm of hooves replaced the hollow silence. The sky turned gold, then copper. For several minutes, neither spoke. "You were headed to Timber Creek?" he asked finally. "Yes." "To meet someone?" She inhaled slowly. "He died." He did not respond right away. "I'm sorry," he said at last. No more than that. The simplicity steadied her breathing. They crested a rise. Below, a wide log house stood against the fading light. Smoke lifted from the chimney. Fences stretched in neat lines. Lantern glow flickered warm against the growing dusk. "It's not fancy," Caleb said. "It is strong," Mei Lin replied. As they rode into the yard, the front door opened. A woman stepped out, mid-50s, silver in her dark hair, apron still tied at her waist. "Caleb?" "I found her by the broken coach," he said. "Miss Mei Lin." The older woman's eyes softened immediately. "Come inside, child." Inside, warmth wrapped around her shoulders like a memory, wood smoke. Stew, bread. Mei Lin's hands trembled slightly as she accepted the bowl placed before her. She had not realized how long she had been bracing against emptiness. Caleb sat across from her, quiet, not questioning, not prying, just present. When she finished eating, the older woman showed her to a small room. A quilt waited on the bed. A single lamp flickered. Mei Lin set her Bible on the bedside table. She stood still for a long time. Outside, cattle lowed softly in the dark. Wind moved through cottonwood leaves. She touched the ring in her cloth bundle. Then she placed it beside the Bible. Not hidden, not clutched. Just resting. Somewhere in the house, Caleb's boots crossed the wooden floor. Strong, steady. She closed her eyes. For the first time since Cheyenne, the tightness in her chest loosened slightly, not because answers had come, but because she was no longer alone on the road. And outside that small room, Caleb Dawson stood at the window, looking out over the prairie, watching the horizon, as if something had just arrived that he did not expect. Morning came with the sound of iron striking iron. Mei Lin opened her eyes to steady hammer blows from the yard below. Not chaos, not shouting. Work. She sat up slowly. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. Then the scent of wood smoke drifted beneath the door. Dawson Ranch, Montana. No husband waiting. She rose and dressed in her woven hanfu tunic, smoothing the crease along the collar. She braided her black hair carefully and secured it at the nape of her neck. Her movements were calm, controlled. The silver ring still rested beside her Bible. She did not touch either. When she stepped into the kitchen, Mrs. Dawson looked up from kneading dough. "Sleep well?" "Yes, ma'am." Coffee steamed on the stove. Bread browned in a skillet. Morning light spilled across the wooden table. It felt almost ordinary. Almost. Caleb entered from the back door, sleeves rolled, forearms dusted with grain. He stopped briefly when he saw her. "You'll need to know," he said without sitting. "The coach won't be fixed till tomorrow." Another delay. She nodded once. "I understand." He watched her a moment longer than necessary. "You've got plans?" he asked. She folded her hands lightly before her. "I had one." Silence filled the space between them. Mrs. Dawson moved quietly, giving them room. "I can work," Mei Lin added. Books, letters, sewing, cooking. Caleb exchanged a glance with his mother. "She's been drowning in the ledgers," he said. "Figures aren't my strength." "Mrs." Dawson wiped flour from her hands. "We could use help." Mei Lin did not lift her gaze too quickly. "If you allow." Caleb pulled out a chair. "Come see the office after breakfast." The office was a small building near the corral. Sunlight cut through one window, catching dust in slow motion. Ledgers stacked high, receipts tied in twine. Caleb leaned against the desk. "Army contract coming next month," he said. 200 head. Paperwork's a mess." Mei Lin stepped closer. She opened the nearest book. Numbers spilled unevenly across the page. Her fingers moved without hesitation. "This column is repeated," she said softly. "And this, total, wrong." He straightened. "You sure?" She turned the page toward him. "Yes." He studied the correction. A small grin tugged at his mouth. "All right then." She did not return the smile, only continued turning pages. Outside, a ranch hand shouted. Hooves thundered. The ranch breathed around them. Hours passed. By noon, ink smudged her fingertips. Caleb returned with bread and dried beef. He set it on the desk. "You eat." She obeyed without argument. "You're far from home," he said quietly. "Yes." "You have family?" "None." He absorbed that. Wind pushed against the office walls. "You carry that Bible everywhere," he said. Her fingers paused. "Yes." "You don't open it." The words were not accusation, only observation. She placed the bread down carefully. "Some pages feel heavy," she said. He nodded once. "War did that to mine." She looked up. Blue eyes met hers without flinching. "Father died second winter here," he continued. "Blizzard took the barn roof. I asked God why he'd bring us west just to bury him in frozen ground." His jaw tightened slightly. "I didn't ask again for a long time." She listened, not interrupting. "Then one night," he said, "I got lost in a whiteout. Couldn't see 10 feet. Thought I was done." His gaze shifted to the window. "Our lead steer had a bell tied to his neck. I followed that sound back." He exhaled through his nose. "Sometimes help don't look like thunder." The office went quiet. Mei Lin's hands rested still on the ledger. The silver ring pressed cold inside her pocket. "Samuel wrote about open sky," she said at last. "He said God feels closer in wide places." "And now?" She swallowed once. "The sky feels empty." Caleb did not argue, did not preach. He only said, "You're still breathing under it." Afternoon heat rose. Later, raised voices echoed from the yard. Mei Lin stepped to the doorway. Caleb stood firm before a weathered ranch hand. "We don't speak about the Blackfoot that way," Caleb said evenly. "They're stealing cattle." "Prove it first." The ranch hand spat. "Soft heart'll cost you." "Then it costs me," Caleb replied. No anger, just steel. The man backed down. Mei Lin watched the exchange. Caleb noticed her. Embarrassment flickered briefly across his face. "Not every fight needs bullets," he said quietly as he approached her. She nodded. "In my country," she replied, "a man who shouts first is usually afraid." He gave a low chuckle. "Guess I'm afraid then." "You did not shout." Evening settled slowly. She returned to her room. The ring lay waiting beside the Bible. She lifted it. Light caught the metal. It had meant survival once. Now it felt like a chain. She set it back down. Then she opened the Bible. Not searching. Just reading. Outside, Caleb leaned against the porch rail, hat in his hands. He looked toward her window. A single lamp glowed inside. He stayed there longer than he needed to, because something about the way she held herself, still, measured, unbroken, even when alone, had started to matter. And neither of them yet understood how much. Sheriff Morgan arrived just before noon, horse lathered, hat pulled low. Dust clung to his coat. Caleb met him in the yard. Mei Lin stood on the porch beside Mrs. Dawson, hands folded inside her sleeves. She knew that look. Official. Final. The sheriff removed his gloves slowly. "Message came from Timber Creek," he said. "Gerald Walker's brother filed claim on her." Mei Lin felt the words before she understood them. "Claim?" Caleb asked. "Travel expenses," the sheriff replied. $500. Says her contract required marriage. Since Samuel's gone, estate demands repayment. Mrs. Dawson's hand tightened on the porch rail. $500. The number landed like iron. Mei Lin stepped forward. "My father signed nothing," she said quietly. The sheriff hesitated. "Paper says otherwise. Signed before he passed." The prairie wind pressed against her coat. Her father had coughed blood into cloth those final days. He had barely held a pen. Caleb's jaw hardened. She didn't know. "Doesn't matter," the sheriff said. 6 weeks. 6 weeks to find $500, or what? The sheriff did not say. He mounted again. "Walker's brother wants settlement by October 1st. Dust rose as he rode away. Silence followed. Mei Lin did not tremble. Her face did not change, but the air felt thin. "I will repay," she said calmly. "With what?" Caleb demanded. "I will find work in town." His eyes sharpened. "You won't step foot in Timber Creek alone." "I will not be owned," she replied, meeting his gaze. The words carried no anger, only steel. Mrs. Dawson moved between them gently. "Inside," she said. In the office, ledgers lay open. Caleb paced once, then stopped. "I can pay it," he said. "No." Her voice was immediate, firm. He faced her. "It's money." "It is not money." He understood. She would not trade one contract for another. Wind struck the window pane. He exhaled. "There's another way." She waited. "Marry me." The room stilled. Mrs. Dawson inhaled sharply. Caleb did not look away. "No claim touches you if you're my wife." Mei Lin's fingers pressed lightly against the desk edge. "Marriage is not a shield," she said. "It can be," he answered. "You offer protection. I offer partnership." She searched his face. Sun-worn skin, scar near his temple, eyes steady. "Why?" she asked. He took a step closer. "Because I don't want you riding back into dust alone." The words hung between them. She did not lower her gaze. "I was promised once," she said quietly. "On paper." "I'm not paper." He stopped himself, softened. "I'm asking." Her breath slowed. In her country, marriage joined families, joined futures. It was not entered for escape. "Do you care for me?" she asked plainly. He swallowed once. "Yes." No flourish, no poetry, just truth. Silence stretched. Outside, cattle lowed. The sky burned pale blue above the yard. She thought of Samuel, of the empty horizon, of the Bible unopened for weeks, of Caleb standing in storms without shouting. "I do not want rescue," she said. "You won't get it." "I will work." "You already do." "I will stand beside you." "That's the only place I'd have you." Mrs. Dawson turned discreetly toward the window, giving them space. Mei Lin's shoulders lowered slowly. Her spine remained straight. "If I say yes," she said, "it is not because of fear. I wouldn't accept it if it was. And if my faith never returns," Caleb's jaw eased, "then we stand under the same sky anyway." Her breath caught, not from romance, from recognition. He was not offering certainty, only presence. She stepped closer, close enough to see faint freckles across his nose, close enough to hear his breathing steady and even. "Yes," she said. Not loud, not trembling, just clear. Caleb's shoulders dropped as if he had been holding something heavy. He did not grab her. He did not claim her. He only placed his hand over hers. Warm. Solid. "We'll marry in 2 weeks," he said. Mrs. Dawson wiped her eyes discreetly. Preparations moved quickly. Lanterns strung between porch and barn. Wildflowers gathered. Mei Lin altered her woven tunic with white stitching along the collar. No silk, no gold, just clean thread and careful hands. On the morning of the wedding, she rose before dawn. She washed her face in cool water, braided her hair, placed a small white flower behind her ear. The silver ring meant for Samuel lay on the table. She held it once, then placed it inside the drawer. Not discarded, not worn, released. The ceremony was small. Ranch hands stood in a rough half-circle. Pastor Green opened his worn Bible. Caleb's hands were steady as he spoke. When it was her turn, her voice did not waver. No promise of forever without storms. Only commitment. Work. Shared ground. When the pastor nodded, Caleb leaned forward. His kiss was brief, respectful. The ranch hands cheered anyway. That evening, music rose from a fiddle near the barn. Lantern light flickered across packed earth. Caleb offered his hand. She accepted. They moved awkwardly at first, then easier. Later, when the celebration faded, they stood alone beneath the wide Montana sky. Stars spread endless above them. Mei Lin opened her Bible slowly, not searching, just reading. The wind brushed the pages. Caleb stood beside her, not speaking, not pressing, just there. Her fingers traced the verse